I want to share a story with you because I feel that what I'm about to share, when implemented, can really change your life. So I was thinking about this the other day. I hadn't thought about it in ages. When I was on honeymoon in Thailand, we were in Koh Samui and we were on the beach one day. Don't normally holiday on the beach, but this was gorgeous and we decided to spend some time on the beach. And I thought I'd go out for a swim because I was looking around me, it seemed nice and shallow. It was a sunny day. I wanted to see if I could see some of those gorgeous coloured fish. And so I walked out, left my husband behind. Now, just to say, I'm kind of an average swimmer. I love having fun in the water. Like, I love swimming, but I'm not really a strong swimmer, So I was sensible. So I looked around, saw that people were, standing. And so I walked in because I always had this thing from when I was a child where I like to feel the sand, the seabed, the sand underneath my feet. It makes me feel secure. So I went for a swim, gorgeous, had a look, the water was quite clear and I, looking for the gorgeous fish and everything. And, I went out some more and all of a sudden I felt, after I was quite far out, but not that far, or so I thought, I think I was lulled into a false sense of security because, there were people around and I could see them standing and all that. All of a sudden there was a change in temperature and my body got a bit of a shock and I could feel my muscles in my legs contract and start to cramp. And so I looked down because I'd been swimming for a bit. And when I looked down, I realised that right beneath my feet, underneath me, was a chasm. So in reality, it just looked like an abyss underneath me. And in that moment, I had a choice. And I remember I had the choice to panic or choose the reality I wanted. I decided to take a breath, relax my body, and look behind me at the rock. There was like a coral rock, maybe 15, 20 feet behind me. And I decided in that moment that the only reality that existed for me was for me to get to that rock and get to safety and then, to another one further on. So I decided to surrender in that moment. Panic was not an option for me. It's like it didn't exist as an option for me. So I made what I call a pure choice. I relaxed my body and I allowed the water to uphold me. So I surrendered to the water, so to speak. I also surrendered to the guidance of my higher self or of Source or of God. And it was very subtle. It's not even that it came through me. It's just like, this is the only reality that exists for you now. You're relaxing your body and you're going over there. So I relaxed. I allowed the water to uphold me. I turned around and with all of my might, I swam. And I wasn't going to stop until I got to that rock. And remember, my muscles were cramping. So it was quite painful. But it didn't matter. I just ignored that. And I swam and I swam and I breathed kind of slowly and deeply, all the way surrendering, absolutely in the present moment. I didn't allow my mind to tell me a story about, oh my God, what if? Absolutely not. So I wouldn't allow my mind to escape to the future. And also, obviously, to the past, where I'm like, oh my God, how could I have done this? Just no stories, past or future. Present moment. And I swam and I swam and I swam and I got to that rock. And I didn't care, it was kind of sharp. Coral can be quite sharp. Didn't care. Just kind of got on it, sat on it a bit. Was very relieved. Caught my breath. Remained in surrender, even though it was quite painful. It was kind of uncomfortable. It was painful what was happening. Absolute present moment. I just stayed in the present moment. Now my next, exactly the same thing. Relax, surrender, allow the water to uphold me. Like I surrendered to the water. I didn't resist. I didn't resist. So it's like resistance or allowance. So I allowed what was happening to happen. I wasn't going to fight against it. Oh my God, how tragic, how awful, I'm going to die. None of that. I was in full allowance of the situation without panicking. This is really important. And then sat on the rock, waited a little while. Didn't want to wait too long because the water still wasn't warm. It was still quite cold. And again, with all my might, I swam to the next stone because I knew the next, coral rock, because I knew that'll be safe and I'd be able to feel the sand beneath my feet. I did that. I got there. The water warmed. I relaxed for a minute, swam back to shore, and I was fine. And I remember just, saying it to my husband, quite nonchalant, like I didn't make a big deal out of it at all. And he pointed out to me that my legs were bruised. They'd actually bruised from the cramping. It was a very interesting experience because that's kind of a, more of a dramatic example. But what if we use the same principle of being present and being in allowance and not resistance in our everyday life for smaller decisions, for smaller challenges, for smaller choices? I mean, your life can change when you do this. Obviously, it's great to do it for larger examples like the one I just told you about. But for smaller everyday challenges, what if we just decided to no longer resist, to allow, to surrender, and in no way do I mean give up. Surrender is one of the most courageous things you can do in your life. It's glorious. And I mean, give up your allegiance to your false self, to the conditioning, to the old patterns that hold you back, and surrender to the truth of who you really are, the divine love that flows through you in every moment, the ever-present stream of guidance that comes from the divine through your authentic self. And it's infallible and it's always here for you. We may or may not pick it up correctly, meaning, maybe there's too much mind chatter going on, maybe you're too busy, but it in and of itself is infallible. It'll never let you down. You're so magnificent. You're so powerful. You're part of this oneness. What if you allowed yourself to live your life today, every day? You'll fail, you'll forget, of course you will, but then you'll get back and you'll do it again. You'll get back on the horse, so to speak. And what if you lived from allowance? What if you lived from your desire that came through your intuitive guidance, not just a superficial desire, your true desire? What if you lived that was the only reality that existed for you, that or something better, that or something higher, that under grace in a perfect way? Your life would transform. And not only that, you'd have desires and they'd happen and they'd manifest and they'd actualize in your life and they'd be so exciting. That's not what's so... There's something deeper. And that's the connection to who you really are, the connection to divine love. That's what's deeper. That goes beyond, the money or anything that you're looking for, that you might be looking for. It's wonderful. We should, so to speak, go for those things. Yes, of course, that's the glory of living in this physical world. And what is beneath, behind, within and without of all of that, the oneness that you are at your core, when you tap into that, now that's what's going to fulfill you.